Hello and welcome to episode 88 of the FPL Hangover podcast, where we raise the bar and lower the tone of things FPL related. We're coming to you live after Game Week 5. It is the 19th of October, and if you're checking this out on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Any likes, same if you're checking us out on any audio platforms, like, subscribes all the way. It makes a massive difference, folks. But let's get down to it. Game Week 5 was another week with goals galore, so much so that if this FPL season was a Motley Crue song, it would be called Goals, Goals, Goals. You can have that one, folks. You're welcome. Take it home, share it with your loved ones and your families. Speaking of loved ones, though, please allow me to introduce the Tommy Lee of the FPL Hangover podcast. He's my podcast partner in crime. Seamus, how you getting on, my friend?
Yo, all right. Not too bad. Green Arrow City here, so yeah, I'll say I'm in good form. How are you?
Not too bad. You're a bit chirpier now that Jimenez banged a goal. I think he's on for 2 bonus points as well. Am I right?
Yeah, he's due for 8. So yeah, that's all 3 of my forwards returning. It was a very goals heavy week. I think everyone who you expected or thought might get goals got goals. But yeah, I didn't get the biggest of green arrows. It wasn't a huge week for me, but yeah, can't complain. I'm not going to complain with a green arrow.
Yeah, it doesn't ever really come off well, Seamus. It seems like you're just screaming for pity. But no, you're right. It was goals city this week, and I suppose the question was which strikers didn't score for you. Who didn't deliver. Pretty much anyone who was anyone got a couple of FPL returns this week, and unless, of course, you're Alexander Mitrovic, and unlucky FPL manager that owns him, such as myself. He seems to be the only kind of, I suppose, maybe just because I'm focusing on him, and I'm already starting off this podcast on a negative tone, Seamus, which I shouldn't be, because I also had a green arrow this week, a pretty decent week, and with the exception of Mitrovic, all things are looking well right now. What was your standout moment of the week, Seamus? Come on. I think your microphone is muted, my friend.
Okay, I've been muting and unmuting my microphone here because I'm clicking away in the background while you're talking, like looking at next week's transfers. Who'd I take out? What if I take this guy out?
That's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've been, I can get Kane in next week. That would seem the obvious move. That's what I'm looking at. But I'm looking at secondary moves. My highlight of the week probably was Kevin De Bruyne's injury, a confirmed injury, because that allowed me to then not overthink things and go, that's a straight move to Son, who then I duly captained. And he was my highest point scorer this week with 13 points. So the 26 points from him was my first real captain success of the season. The first captain that got me double digits anyway. So yeah, that's my highlight of the week. Finally nailing a captain.
Yeah, that's a pretty good highlight to have. I keep forgetting that you missed out on Salah's hat-trick in the first game week of the season. And
alas,
yeah, God knows where you'd be if that had, if you'd had Salah in from the start, and maybe this frown would have been upside down. But it's a pretty good, I mean, even if it is a little Schadenfreude-esque, it's a pretty good highlight. There's worse injuries that happened this week that you could be claiming was your highlight of the game week. But yeah, KDB pretty much nailed anyone that was sitting on the fence what to do. I was one of those managers who was looking at Son, looking at Kane, massive narrative, massive push going into game week 5, like, back Spurs, and I was on the fence a little bit in the sense that was I willing to sacrifice a KDB, a Fernandes to drop to Son. And yeah, in the end, my decision was made for me. I actually even spoke to herself indoors, and I said, this just made my game week a whole lot easier. It made my captain decision a whole lot easier, because before the KDB injury / Son transfer / Son captaincy, I was struggling to really pick one out of the likes of a Salah and a KDB when he was an option. So yeah, it made things a lot easier, but in the end, I suppose it also kind of meant it was part of a herd move, which, yourself, you kind of always want to avoid that unless it's completely unnecessary or completely,
Yeah, you want to be ahead of the curve, if anything. But yeah, look, it's an easy move. Let me just look at his ownership right now. He's on 47.5%. He's picked up 2 million owners last week. That's after losing 1.3 million owners the week before. I'm sure he's got a ton of new owners this since the game week deadline passed as well. I don't know what he's even on this week. That would require actually doing some research. But if he hadn't, if De Bruyne wasn't confirmed injured, I was probably more likely to get Kane in, if I'm completely
Oh,
honest. It
really?
was an easier move to make. Yeah, I was looking at the Kane. I mean, probably for someone like Danny Ings, which would have meant trying to free up money elsewhere. So don't know how it would try to justify that. Could have meant going down from Calvert-Lewin, or could have meant going down from Barnes somewhere. But yeah, it's once the news was, this is why you hold off, until later in the week to make your transfers. I wasn't, hamstrung by that. But yeah, one thing I was saying to you, we'll probably get into it a bit more later, but if you had made early moves and then you found out De Bruyne was injured and you had some other injury dates from the international break, might have prompted you to play your wild card. And as it turned out, this was one of the probably the first game week of the season where playing your wild card has probably worked out well for you. If you've got the guys who are playing in form for the last couple of weeks, that's worked out because I said it to you beforehand. Game weeks 1, well, not obviously not game week 1, but game week 2, 3, and 4 so far has seen not too many successes on the wild card. Immediate successes, at least.
Yeah, no, 100%. I misunderstood you when you initially said it to me, and I was going, what are you talking about? There's fuck tons of the season left. You can't say this is the week to have played your wildcard. But no, 100%. In terms of the narrative that was being pushed, I say it like it's a conspiracy, but the general trends within the game that were being kind of talked about and seen prior to the beginning of game week 5 all came to fruition. Spurs, their players got all the FPL returns that you wanted. The team didn't get the result they wanted to, but the players got the FPL returns. Anyone that went hard and heavy on a Spurs kind of wild card really came out top trumps. Even if you took a risk with the likes of Region getting, 4 points in the end, even though you conceded the 3 goals, that's a pretty solid fucking return. And yeah, as you said, Kane smashing it this week, Son smashing it this week. Yeah, it all came out, top trumps for Spurs players. But I suppose on top of that, you also had the host of regulars that we've been talking about for a couple of episodes now, also staying true to form, the likes of your DCLs. You mentioned Danny Ings there. I mean, you can't be too disappointed. He got a 7-point return against Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. He's got a return, in my team, so not going to give out about that. It was probably my low point of the week was involved in that match when it looked like Danny Ings was going to have a simple tap in for his second goal of the game when when Kepa made that horrible mistake, and it looked like Shea Adams was just going to play him in, but a calamity of last ditch tackles knocked the ball onto the post. Then Kepa came back and he messed up his clearance, and it went back to Adams again, and it could have easily fallen to Ings for a tap in, but Adams then smashed it through the net. I immediately thought of you, when I saw that goal, because he'd already had an assist, and you did mention that you were definitely going to get your chub on if he got a goal, and to get a goal and assist and the 3 bonus. You must have been a happy lad.
Very happy. That was my highlight of the week. I love when my highlight is the opposite of your low light. That really puts a bit of a smile on my face. No, you're right. I believe my correct words were, I will jizz my pants if Adams scores a goal in this match. And yeah, I got a half chub when he got the assist, and then as soon as that goal went in, yeah, it was a fucking a shower of. I'm not gonna go into the details, but it was
a full Lonely Island scenario.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, big return from Adams. He got 11 points this week, and he kind of, I suppose, everyone was focusing this week on Werner, especially on FPL Twitter and all the forums and stuff. All you saw was, congratulations, you've kept Werner. Oh, fair play to you. You're a fucking FPL genius for holding on to a player because you probably had other fires to put out. So he, delivered the kind of points return you were expecting him to deliver since game week 1. And no massive surprise, because Southampton they don't seem this season to be maybe maybe they're not the best shout for a clean sheet, but who is a fucking shout for a clean sheet this season? Because they don't seem to. They're few and far between. Now we saw Wolves picking up one tonight, and we know there's actually three tonight. We had Burnley, West Brom, and Wolves all picking up clean sheets. But going back to what was I talking about? Adams. Or was it West Ham?
Yeah.
Going back to
Adams.
the Chelsea match, like I was not expecting much of a return. So when he picked up that initial assist for Ings, I was like, I'll take it. He's probably on the way out, especially it was post the Everton match. And spoiler alert, I already made my transfers this week and took Adams out for Calvert-Lewin on the Saturday evening just to kind of. You're shaking your head.
Loyalty.
What?
No loyalty.
I had loyalty, Seamus. It got me through.
I hope he goes on a run. Hope he goes on a big old run now.
Yeah, well, I really fucking hope he doesn't. And you know what? To be honest with you, for a 5 point, I think he's 5.8 now. I took the 0.2 hitting him. If he did go on a run, it would be probably a little bit sickening. But I'm saying that I don't see any signs of DCL slowing down. He picked up another goal this week, 6-point return for his owners. He's now over 50% owned in the game. That's it's got to be worrying for anyone who hasn't jumped on the Calvert-Lewin bandwagon yet, Seamus.
Yeah, I went and made the move a couple of weeks ago as well, and I've had 2 games in a row where he's got goals. He hasn't got any bonus in those games, so just the 6 points in each. But Everton look different level this year, top of the league. That won't continue, but I think they'll do well. For the next while anyway. Their fixtures, let me pull up their fixtures here again. What have they got coming up? Like Southampton next game, great game. Newcastle, great game as well. Newcastle have no ambition. Then they've got a game against Man United, that'll be tough. And then they've got 3 good games against Fulham, Leeds might be tough, and Burnley. Burnley have been very poor this season so far. So yeah, Southampton we know can leak goals, and yeah, Newcastle away can sound like a tough fixture, but United just batter them away from home as well. Newcastle, no ambition. And I think home and away just makes no difference this season as far as I'm concerned. You just base it on team. I don't think, the home fixture being a fortress, I don't think that holds true anymore.
You came to me with a bunch of stats not so long ago. I think it was before our previous episode, and you were talking about the differences of home and away, and as you said, your hypothesis was that there is no home and away at the moment, and I shot you down. Maybe I shot you down a little bit too fast, but I don't know if, how do I phrase it? I suppose it's the fact that home and away, it's more, I don't know. I'm stumbling over my words here. I think it's because what's shocking me, and I was listening to the Second Captain's podcast today, and a big recommend for any sports fans out there. It's probably one of the top podcasts in the world as far as I'm concerned, listening to it. And they were talking about how, like, would West Ham have come from 3-0 down if there was fans in that stadium? And I want to get your opinion on that, Seamus.
I think, didn't they come from 3-0 down like last season against them as well, or was it the season before? I don't know if it was home or away though, and I don't know if the fans were involved, but I believe that's the second time they've come back from like a few goals down against Spurs again. It's a London derby, and Spurs are usually pretty quick starters in a lot of games. So I think in most games most teams won't come back, but yeah, without any pressure. Even like you see when they scored a goal, Balbuena scored the header. There was no urgency to get the ball back. It was in like the 83rd minute or something like that, or 81st
consolation
minute.
Goal.
But yeah, you could even see a consolation goal. He got the ball back. It was just kind of, okay, let's get back. We've got a goal back. And it was kind of like, well, look, if we get another one, maybe we can get a bit excited. And it's when they got the second goal, then it was kind of like, oh shit, we've actually got a couple of minutes here. We can do well. They didn't have that much belief at that down. They weren't actually that bad, West Ham, particularly apart from the opening 20 minutes where they were just ripped apart. But that was more to do with how good Spurs were. They were actually provided good chance. I mean, I think there was somebody, I can't remember who, headed the ball like from a yard out. It was a yard off the line. The ball was put on his head and he headed it over the bar. That was only a few minutes before they finally got their equaliser, or they got their first goal. So that seemed like a kind of a case that, they were creating chances. In fact, I have I was looking at the stats on this game earlier, hazard a guess what the XG in that game might have been?
In the overall game.
Yeah,
I don't
Spurs,
know,
West Ham.
3.25.
Well, the XG was to Spurs 1.69.
Oh,
This is coming from
oh,
Fantasy
sorry,
Football
sorry. Yeah,
Scout.
I answered that on maybe the whole game. Seamus, you can't throw XG questions at me. I don't
Sorry,
fucking. I hardly know
sorry.
what that stands for. Let alone fucking take a guess at what the fucking game was.
All right. Well, the expected goals for the game was Spurs 1.69, West Ham 1.9. So West Ham actually had a higher XG in that game, which kind of makes sense seeing as, Kane scored from outside the box. What was their third goal? Kane's header was probably a high XG goal. Yeah, Son's goal was, not particularly high
What's
probably,
your point?
but like West Ham had a higher expected goals. I mean, they weren't bad. Spurs did start brilliant, and they should have seen the game out. And Bale should have scored that goal when it got back to 3-2 to finish the game off. But it didn't happen, and Spurs were just extras. Spurs have just. I read a good article on Football 365, and they were just saying Spurs are condensing their Spursiness, and it's pure unadulterated Spurs this year. With what they did in the Newcastle game and now this game. So yeah, look, as long as they continue to score goals, we'll want them in our teams.
Yeah, well, that should have been the name of the Spurs documentary. Pure Spurs unadulterated. XXX. That's the kind of fucking documentary I'm watching. Not your all or nothing shite. It's nothing. It's nothing, lads. That's what you've been winning. But going off of Spurs, we've had enough of them. Go back to United. 4-1. Bruno Fernandes. He's I mean, when I say get off Spurs, we'll be definitely coming back to Spurs before the fucking podcast is over. But like in terms of game week 5, Man United 4-1 didn't look like that would be the scoreline 10 minutes before the end of the fucking match. Bruno Fernandes owners such as myself would have been on the edge of their seat in terms of missing the fucking penalty. Like, I don't know, was that the first missed penalty this season?
No, that's surely not the first missed penalty,
Maybe
is
not.
it? I don't have the stats at hand. I feels like somebody's definitely saved somebody saved the penalty at one stage. Martinez saved the penalty for Aston
Yes,
Villa,
you're
I think,
right.
at one
In
stage
the first,
against Lundstrom.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
in the first game week, you're right, I think. But if for me, it was the first player I've owned who's missed a penalty, and I had luckily I had 2 of them this week.
But not the last.
Not the fucking last, that's for sure. So when he did miss it, I a little, because he's a bit of a differential now. I mean, maybe I'm blinded by my own mini leagues and kind of people around me and people the stuff, the things people are talking about in terms of Son and whatnot. I mean, before KDB's injury, who was the prime candidate to be that you would downgrade to a Son? It was Bruno Fernandes. And this week, you said last week, you said, oh well, I questioned you, oh, we got rid of Fernandes, that's a bit of a call. And you went, not even in my fucking thoughts. Not even in my fucking thoughts, is what you said. You even put on the accent, which I was impressed that it came through text. But
Okay.
he went and he scored last week against Spurs, and now he's got an 11-point return with a missed penalty. Are you second guessing yourself? And like, they have tough fixtures coming up. Chelsea's up next, but Chelsea can't keep a clean sheet for the fucking life of them. Maybe Caballero's in goals next week, and they're slightly tighter at the back. But Fernandes, is he making you second guess? Not you particularly, but should people be second guessing not having Bruno Fernandes in their team?
Well, you called him a differential. 21.4% owned. He's not that highly owned.
Yeah.
That probably has a lot to do with the fact that United were missing game week 1 this season, and people were probably planning on bringing him in. But then to see the form of the likes of Son and other players, people probably changed their plans. But he's tipping away. He's doing quite well. 3 goals, 2 assists, and that includes a missed penalty then as well this week. So that would have been 3 penalties in 4 game weeks for him had he got that, having scored against Brighton as well. So yeah, they're still getting penalties. That's still happening. If you're going to want the players that have that, he's a quality player. His goal was from open play this week, even after missing it. He got the assist as well with a great goal assist for Rashford at the end. Great long ball. He'll probably still tip away getting points. The problem for me is his price. I never thought he was a bad option, but I wanted Salah and De Bruyne. And if I was going to have two premiums like that, then he would be probably my third player. I don't think he would cover the position of De Bruyne or he'll cover De Bruyne if De Bruyne's out injured for a while. Okay, that's fair enough. But I don't think you want to go with Fernandez instead of a Man City attacker over the course of the season, just because I think Man City are going to get more goals and Sterling and De Bruyne would score more. But he would be a fine third option if Son wasn't absolutely in blistering form right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think yeah, that's all completely valid points, Seamus. That's what I'll give you. But
You've got a team there, Jared. Before we move on, like you've got Fernandez, Salah, and Son. That's the kind of midfield you'd want right now without KDB there. Although their fixtures aren't great on paper, at the very least.
I was going to bring it all the way to your team back to the start, but no, you're right. I have a pretty solid team in the sense of I'm happy that I have 3 premium mids: Salah, Son, Fernandez. I mean, if the time comes when Fernandez has to turn into a Man City asset such as a Sterling or a KDB when he comes back, maybe Spurs go off the boil. I had that price point. I have the price point in my team. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. You have a Barnes and Trossard there, so you're sitting with 2 heavies in the mid, 2 mid-price options. Do you think that makes your decision easier to go to like a premium striker a la Kane, or are you thinking no, maybe I should go back and invest in midfield?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a rake of points in the bank at the minute that I can invest, to my liking. 2.9 to be precise.
When you
I
say
can add
points,
that
you mean millions.
Oh, millions, I should say. Yeah, I'm not expressing that very clearly. 2.9 million in the bank. To add to Barnes, who's 7.0, that would get me up to 9.9. It wouldn't quite get me to Fernandez. But, seeing as I've got Reece James there worth 5 million, who's doing nothing, he could be downgraded to get to Bruno if I wanted to, or I could downgrade one of my strikers. I've got 3 kind of mid kind of price strikers: Ings, Jimenez, Calvert-Lewin, all got on the score sheet this week. So that's happy days, apart from the fact that all the strikers are scoring, and you've got players and getting double-digit hauls. So you can probably get cheaper points there. I don't know. So I think I'll probably just want to go to Kane.
Yeah.
Kane is just looking too good to ignore. So I'll probably put that money into Kane, which means, Barnes, if I had just got Grealish instead of Barnes in my wild card, I'd be laughing. I'd be better off to the tune of like 25 points after 2 game weeks. Same with Reece James in defense. If I'd gone for Sice instead of Reece James, I'd be something like 14 points better off or something like that. You live and you learn.
You do. I criticized you last week about the James move a little bit. I didn't give you too much shit. But I did, when I saw it, I thought, well, he's the one that, if I'm wildcarding, I'm a bit worried he's going to lose his space to the Chilwell that they've brought in, and I can't see him dropping Azpilicueta, who's their captain, I suppose, when Thiago Silva isn't playing. I don't know actually anymore. I know they gave Silva the captain in his first match, but whatever. I don't give a flying fuck who Chelsea's captain is. But like, I gave you a bit of shit. I think now it's coming to fruition. I imagine James Price. He's already dropped. If I'm wrong, I mean you can check that up while I'm spewing my nonsense. But he has, yeah. So like he's going to drop again. I think he's got a relatively high ownership. Like his ownership would have been building from game week 1. He scored that cracker against Brighton in the first game week of the season. That's going to catch people's eye. He's 5 million, and I think there would have been people jumping on that, and I can imagine that this is one of those price points, like I suppose Son, and I guess we're still trying to figure out what way it's all working this year with algorithms and price changes and whatnot. But I will be surprised if James doesn't drop again, especially after a 1 point return, because that's when it becomes lethal. Is that you can't actually even play him in the hope that he starts, because you'll be too afraid that he'll come on for those last 5 minutes, get the 1 point return, prevent any first sub or second sub, whatever way it works out. And he has to be one of the fires in your team, Seamus. I mean, it doesn't look like there's too many fires, but he has to be a concern for you.
Yeah, he is. He was my planned move this week. I was going to be James to somebody. I still don't know. I kind of want to get in on the the Wolves defense. I'm not too keen on Wolves anyway. Like watching that game tonight, every time I watch Wolves, they start off so slow. I mean, they usually have a good second half. They're usually kind of quite strong finishers, but they start off so slow. So if they concede early, that's clean sheet gone. But I
Well, no
think
shit. If any team
they seem to
concedes
be
early, it's a
okay.
clean sheet gone.
Yeah, but if they're a team that's prone to starting slow, there's probably a higher chance of them conceding early. They don't concede too many second half goals, so it's regardless. So it's a kind of case of if they can just not lose their shit in the first half an hour or so, they usually kind of get better. I think I want Sice. I just like Why is he playing left wing back? Marcel is now available. Does that mean Marcel is going to be back in there left wing back and Sice is going to be dropped, or is Kilman going to play? Kilman, as it turns out, has had 3 bonus points in his last 2 games he's played. So I think he's on 21 points from 2 games, like for 4.0 million.
Yeah, big time.
You know,
Anyone looking at maybe not so much this week, but I feel, and a lot of we've talked about it last week. I think Mitchell's time, his days are numbered as a starting left back for Palace, and like I think he was okay this week, and for 4 million, it's fine. But you can't imagine him keeping Van Aanholt out of the team, and I assume he will eventually lose his spot, and maybe Kilman's the way to move to. It's something worth monitoring because I think the big question is once Marcel, who I feel is going to be there starting left back, once he comes back, do they push Sice back into that left centre back role, or do they drop him? Now you mentioned a bit of news in the forum, Seamus.
sorry,
You mentioned, sorry, I maybe
you just blindsided me there. What are you on about?
you
What?
mentioned before we started recording that like there was calls for Sice to be dropped.
Oh, on the fan forums.
Yes,
Excuse me.
yeah, not
Yeah,
the FPL Hangover forum. Sorry, my apologies.
I didn't know what you're on about. Yeah, no, this is why I didn't go with. I mean, I was talking to, can't remember who it was, and they were saying there's a lot of talk on the Wolves forums from a few games ago that Sice's lack of pace is causing Wolves problems in there, and that there's calls for him to be dropped. I think this was in like game week 3. He wasn't dropped and he played, but then in game week 4, they brought in Kilman instead of Sice. And then Sice pushed out to the left. Now, I don't know why you play somebody with a lack of pace as left wing back, but they did. And he played really well. And I think, did he get 3 bonus or 2 bonus in that game? As well as scoring tonight, which got ruled out
Yeah,
for offside.
that must have been a hold your breath moment for a shit ton of FPL managers. Because I mean, I'm a Podence owner, and he was possibly on for the assist. You said he took a deflection. You can shake your head. He was possibly on for the assist.
No, he possibly was. He possibly was.
And
I think ultimately, because he wasn't the intended target, it probably would have gotten ruled out. But you never know with these things.
you never know. I'm fully sure that whoever makes those decisions does it completely independently of any rules. That's my impression. Maybe it's one lad, maybe it's a couple of wankers around the desk. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they're flexible. I mean, at least that's what any lack of transparency is making me think. But I won't get bogged down. I'm teetering on the edge of going straight into conspiracy theories, Seamus. I think it's the half a bottle of vodka. I'm not sure, but
just to bring it back, that's why I'm saying, look, James is a problem area for me this week. If Sice was playing centre back, if I thought Kilman was going to keep his place, I would just get Kilman. But now I'm afraid is that if Marcel comes in, Sice could either be pushed centre back and Kilman dropped, or Sice dropped completely. I don't know which is going to happen, so I can't really move on either of them this week until I see what happens. And next week, maybe Marcel doesn't come straight back in. Who knows? So it's a tough one. I kind of, like you said, that was my planned move. The rest of my team looks good. I could go Ings to Son. Son like Spurs away to Burnley. I think, he's silly not to go for that kind of move. But Barnes is away to Arsenal for Leicester, and they were missing Jamie Vardy this week. Will he be back next week? I don't know, but they look pretty toothless without him, with Iheanacho up front. So Barnes, while he did score in game week 4 in the last minute to have it ruled out, and he's been playing well, that could be Jack Grealish as well if I decided to go with that. Like, have you seen Aston Villa's upcoming fixtures? Like Jack Grealish, this is the playing around I was doing with my team while I was waiting, while you were doing the intro. But Jack Grealish is
instead of fucking listening to the intro, yeah, okay.
I was listening to you. I can listen and tinker. You not familiar? Like I'm a pro FPLer at this stage. Uh, their upcoming fixtures: 2 home games against Leeds and Southampton. Okay, Leeds isn't going to be that um, great a fixture, but it's at home. Then they're playing Southampton. Okay, away to Arsenal, not that great, and then home Brighton. So that's 3 home fixtures in the next 4. And you would say, not too difficult. Leeds, Southampton, and Brighton at that. Then away to West Ham, home to Newcastle. Those are some good fixtures. Lots of green in the ticker. And I think even not just going by the ticker, I think there's some good chances of points there for Jack Grealish, who's playing essentially as a forward now. He's playing left wing, and he's just been given a lot more license to attack. He doesn't come back and have to defend like he had to do at the end of last season when they were in a relegation battle, because they have a decent spine now again.
Well, they
And
have
yeah,
actual midfielders now, which is
yeah,
a nice change. It means it's not all reliant on him. He can hang that little bit forward, Seamus, and hopefully things get fed to him more. But let me ask you, you're talking about Grealish. Barkley has to have turned your head a little bit this week. An 11-point return.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Barkley's as well too, but I would prefer Grealish. I think he's playing more attacking. Barkley looked fantastic in the game against Liverpool. Could have had a couple of goals. He had a goal. I think he had 4 chances or 4 shots in that game. Yeah, missed a few, went from good positions. I'd like him too, but I don't really want to double up on Villa. Maybe you might with these fixtures, but these are definite options. And I saw 1 or 2 people on Wildcard this week go for mentioned they were going for and actually get Barkley. And to be rewarded with 11 points is magic, isn't that? For someone who's 5.9 million, 6 million or something.
Yeah, it's. I think he's cheaper than Grealish, as far as I'm aware. I'm gonna have to look at it a bit
Oh
more.
yeah, there's a 1.3 price difference. But I think for that 7 million slot, which is the slot I have in my team, I'm looking at Grealish. Maybe I want to downgrade Trossard, who's in my 6 million slot, to Barkley. That could happen too.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're saying double Aston Villa all the way. That's brilliant. We can leave it there. Let's throw this out to the audience slash viewers. Ladies and gents, it's time for the Drunk Tank. First question this week. FPL Rogue. Now, I suppose I might as well set this one up a little bit. We got a bit of stick during the week from this gentleman here, all the way from, I believe it's County Mayo. Seamus, I'm correct with that, am I? I'm not mixing it up.
He's a Mayo
Mayo
man. He's down
yeah.
in he's down in Cork though. He's down in Cork.
But yeah, he identifies as a Mayo man, and
I don't think he'd ever describe himself as a Cork man. I'll put it that way.
who would? Who would? Maybe someone later on in the questions might turn up. But FPL Rogue gave us a bit of shit because we left out not just us. FPL Renegades. He also he fucking got in on them as well, and I blame Renegades more so than Rogue, because if they had just done their due diligence and actually read his question out, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'm taking the piss. It's FPL Rogue. I love the guy. He asks us, clean sheets are a rare thing this year, but which team / teams and / or player are the standout options if they were to come back into fashion? So he's asking us about clean sheets, and yeah, there isn't a fucking lot around. So Seamus, who's kind of taking your eye in terms of rear garden? Who's rear garden for you?
Who do I like in the rear?
Who'd you like in the rear?
Who would I like in the rear? Well, I mentioned Aston Villa's lovely home fixtures coming up there. Okay, Leeds and Southampton and Arsenal in the next 3. They all can score goals, but they have had a great start to the season so far. I believe they kept 3 clean sheets in their first 4 games. Now, one of those had to rely on Martinez saving a penalty. So, are Aston Villa defenders the way to go? I had Target for game weeks, the first few game weeks, and he got me some clean sheets, and he was nice and cheap and did the business. Another clean sheet from this week. So I'd look at them first of all. Clean sheets are dead, by the way. So I totally agree with you there, Rogue. Wolves have kept 2 clean sheets in a row and have 2 home games up against Newcastle and Crystal Palace next. So I'll be looking at Wolves. I just don't know who I want in Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to speak about them too much. We said those. Yeah, other than that, it's hard to see. There's not a whole lot. Fulham have 2 nice home games coming up. I ain't touching those guys. I would go for a Everton defender. If A, Luca Dean wasn't so expensive, and B, Coleman hadn't got injured, and most importantly, C, they didn't have Jordan Pickford, who's a liability.
Did you just say you would go for an Everton defender?
Yeah.
What
But then
fucking
I had 3 caveats.
yeah?
Did you just turn off at that stage?
No. I was listening to you, but I think I got kind of blocked when you said I would go for an Everton defender. And what the fuck are you talking about? Like those lads look so liable at the back, especially with that bollocks in goals. Do you know what I mean?
They don't. It's just they don't look liable in the back. They look liable to concede because Jordan Pickford has a fuck up in any one game. That's how they look liable. I wouldn't base it on the Liverpool game where, yeah, they're playing a good Liverpool team who created chances,
I'm
but Pickford is a liability. That's the main thing. The player that I would totally have Seamus Coleman on my team if they had signed a new keeper, um, before the end of the transfer window. But he's injured now anyway, so that's a moot point.
exactly
But their
Pickford's
fixture, they're playing well and they've got decent fixtures coming up. So why wouldn't you?
because have they kept a clean sheet this season?
I'm asking the wrong man
Well,
here. I don't think I have.
if they've kept one, it's one. They definitely haven't kept two. And
No one's keeping clean sheets, man. It's dead out there. I'm pulling it up here. I'm pretty sure they haven't. Maybe they have.
well, that's
They kept a clean sheet in game week 1 against Spurs. Actually, yeah,
yeah.
forgot about that.
So
Game.
they kept one clean sheet. It's not just Pickford. Pickford is a complete liability. Yerry Mina is also a fucking joke, if you ask me, as a centre back. He looks like he doesn't know how to stand on his two legs, let alone kick a ball. So as far as I'm concerned, like Coleman, Digne, I think Digne, what did he get? 6 points this week? A pretty 7.
Yeah.
So like I do think he is an option, far more of an option if they were keeping clean sheets, as we said before, and as lots of podcasts have said. Like for Digne to be that option, you need Everton to look like keeping clean sheets. I genuinely don't think they look like keeping clean sheets, Seamus. Even against West Brom, like notoriously toothless side, they conceded 2 goals.
Right. What about the fact, okay, that of their 4 starting defenders this season, Luka Dean has 3 assists from 5 games. Coleman has only 1, but look, he's been injured kind of a lot in the last couple of games.
No. Okay.
Michael Keane and Yerry Mina have 3 goals between them.
Yeah.
Where are they getting those goals from, Jared? They've got Rodriguez whipping in quality corners and free kicks. They've got that set piece specialist now who's taken, and this is what detracts from Luka Dean's appeal at the minute, is that he's not got as many corners because James, is taking them. So I think, I mean, I wouldn't, 5.1 for Michael Keane. He's gone up in price. He's attracting interest. 2 goals already this season, and it could continue. I mean, if I can't go there, but this is the question that's been asked: if they sort their shit out in defense, and you trust Carlo Ancelotti to get them.
If any team sorts their shit out in defence, you're going to look at them. That's a fair point. But I just think with Everton, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong here. I did like that Coleman shout. I think that 5 million plus his attacking options was worth it. But we've seen now his injuries are kind of like he missed last week, came off early this week. Digne is that little bit too expensive for a team that aren't keeping clean sheets. But look, we can agree to disagree.
Agreed.
And in terms of Everton, for me, I'm of the opinion that like I don't know how quick clean sheets are going to come back to them. But like looking at other teams, I mean, we saw Burnley keep a clean sheet this week, but they have a shit bunch of fixtures coming up. Spurs, Chelsea, Man City in the next 5. I do think Wolves, I think you nailed it with Wolves, Newcastle, Crystal Palace and Southampton in the next 4. They're all, I think, for the price point with Wolves, I like it. My only issue, as you said, is the uncertainty over size. But, if clean sheets come out...
Anyone else striking your fancy? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's no problem. No, I mean, you kind of nailed the teams I'd be looking at in regards to, I think Villa are a team I completely missed out on. I was a bit sickened to see Justin's clean sheet wiped out in the 80-odd minute this week, because it was looking like Villa defence and Leicester defence were both going to pick up some points. That wasn't the case. Barkley smashed it in from outside the box. And, I mean, I think Leicester, I don't know. They're on for... They're okay. I'm just not convinced. Yeah, I'm with you. You're shaking your head. And I'm with you. No, I'm with you. I
don't like Leicester.
I don't think...
I think they've been lucky so far. I think they've been very lucky so far. And I've had Justin, and some people have had Castagna. I don't see it continuing. Another team we haven't mentioned, Leeds, maybe. I think they've looked good. They don't... I think they're getting tighter at the back. They look good for large spells against Wolves today. They look good against Man City. I think they're getting more organized. I like Ailing. So yeah, I would be looking at maybe Ailing. Dallas went back to left back today, I think. He wasn't playing in midfield, but he's looked very good when played in midfield and more attacking recently. So one of those two.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think that Leeds' upcoming fixtures away to Villa, at home to Leicester, away to Crystal Palace, before Arsenal and Everton, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, but I do agree with you in terms of Ailing and Dallas. Ailing looks, super attacking. I think I'd almost go with Dallas just because of I like, to take that little punt, and if he's getting played in midfield or something like that, I'm going, ooh, look, I got a defender playing right up there, especially for like 4.5, 4.6, whatever he is now. So I'm looking a bit closer at Dallas than I am at Ailing. But yeah, well, they're the teams, I think, for me, and maybe you'd agree with me, Seamus. Wolves are, I don't know. If I was to look at Wolves for points this season, and this is probably reflecting on Jimenez, and I know it's not what Rogue asked, but I'd probably be looking a bit closer to their defense. They look like that's kind of their main focus, is just building from the back, like it was, I suppose, before. But like they just look kind of solid there, not so much an attack,
Yeah, they never really bang in more than 2 goals in a game. They're usually pretty tight. They'll get a couple of goals. They don't score more than two often. I think only 2 or 3 times last season they scored 3 or more goals. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, up front, Jimenez is the guy to go for them. I don't think you need to load up in fielders or anything like that. So, yeah, I'd go for a defender. We had a guy in our mini league today who had, I think he had Patricio in goals and he had Saiss, and got 14 points from those 2 players. That's a nice points per million return. So, I think the one thing I would say is, he's asked, clean sheets gone. I think take your money out of your defense for the time being. When it looks like they might come back, we might want to go there. But with Van Dijk getting an injury for Liverpool, I'm worried about the Liverpool defense now as well.
It is, and we will have a question on that coming up. But right now, we've got Nuclear Atoms. He is a regular asker of the Questiones, and he also has a YouTube channel at Nuclear Atoms. So check that motherfucker out. This week, he asks us, and if I could pull the fucking thing up, it would have been there.
I'll ask you.
You have it there. It's up on screen, but talk.
Is it still worth keeping Robertson, or is it better to go for someone cheaper like Cresswell, who's on set pieces? And which Man City attacker should he bring in after the Liverpool game? And is Ruben Diaz a good option since Man City looked defensively solid since he's come in? So I mean, yeah, the first part is it kind of related to what I said about Liverpool's defense. Is it worth keeping him, or should he go for someone cheaper like Cresswell for Chelsea, who's got a few assists and been looking very well since he's come in? What do you think of that?
I think what we'll do is we will skip the Robertson bit, Nuclear, because we have another question coming up that looks at Liverpool defenders, but looking at the follow-up questions to that in regards to Cresswell, who's in set pieces. For me, like if I'm going West Ham defense, I'm going Masuaku. 4.5, I believe. Maybe he's a bit more now, but he's playing. I think he's playing left wing back. I mean, like, maybe I'm not watching the fucking right amount of West Ham matches, but as far as I'm concerned, he looked very much left wing back against Spurs at the weekend. Am I right there, Seamus?
I'm going to just double check. I have their average positions here in that match. I'm going to pull it up. I actually read that question as Chilwell, not Cresswell. So my mistake there. But in that game, let's have a look at his average heat map, because I was of the impression that Masuaku was playing left wing back. So let's have. Yeah, so then I would believe Cresswell was playing left-sided centre half. But I did see him get forward kind of a bit, but I think it's just mainly the set pieces. West Ham are quite good at set pieces, so he will continue to be. I'm not even pulling up the right fucking game. Jesus Christ. Spurs. There we go. Let's have a look. What number was he?
Oh, dead air, Seamus. Absolute dead air. That's.
He was playing left-sided centre half, but like his average position was kind of on the halfway line. It was considerably higher than Ogbonna and Balbuena. He wasn't too far behind Masuaku. Masuaku's more advanced, but yeah, he's quite high.
What price is he coming in at, Seamus? Since you're clickety clicking all the time, what price is Cresswell coming in at this week?
Okay, let me ask you.
I will ask you.
Cresswell is 4.9. it's not a bad price, but yeah, I did misread that. I thought he was asking about Chilwell, not Cresswell. 4.9. Their fixtures are still bad. I wouldn't be going for their defense until at least game week 8. So if he's talking about game week 8, yeah, maybe Cresswell could be good, but what's he got? 3 assists on the season so far. He had 0 assists last year, one the year before that. Yeah, he had 7 the year before that, so he's got some pedigree. But yeah, he's still. I think there's other better options in West Ham. I'd rather look
Especially
at.
when you consider West Ham's, upcoming fixtures. I know they're on a really decent run of form at the moment, but I mean, their next couple of matches are Man City and Liverpool. So I mean, wait and see. Wait and see with Cresswell. You don't want to be getting him in for those 2 matches. But looking at the follow up to that, he talks about which Man City attacker to bring in after the Liverpool game, and is Ruben Diaz a good option since they look pretty solid at the back. What do you think, Seamus? Man City, yay or yay?
I don't like. I'm not convinced. Especially with De Bruyne out. Let's see a bit longer. If you've gone in on them early doors, like on Man City, you're. This is what I've done. I've gone in on Man City quite early enough, and it hasn't been as rewarding for their prices as some of the other players who are actually playing well. I mean, they've got 4 games, 4 goals in the last 3 games. That's not great for City. That's just over 1 a game. If you were on Sterling, fair enough. You've got their goal scorer in each of the last 2 games, and that's 20 points. But none of their other attackers are doing a whole lot much. Now Aguero's back, that could change, but I want to see it. They've got West Ham at the minute playing quite well, and they're going to have a lot of what's the word, confidence. So I think they'll be kind of not as not as easy a fixture. Sheffield United, yeah, they should batter Sheffield United.
There's the cat.
And then you've got
There's the cat. Everyone say hello. Go on.
and then Liverpool at home is a tough. So yeah, after that we'll be a better position to see which attackers to go for. You're still looking at the same guys: Aguero, Sterling, De Bruyne, Foden may continue to be an option there. Let's see if he still gets minutes. And I'm not too pushed for the price for 5.5 for Diaz. I don't know. He looks good. What did you see him?
I watched the City game, and yeah, he does look good. I think he looks like what they're missing in terms of someone that's going to fucking clear up any of those balls coming into the box, and he did have a really good game against Arsenal. Maybe they will chalk up a couple of clean sheets, but I don't know. I feel like Arsenal didn't really go for the jugular in that match, which was a bit disappointing. I thought they, with the rivalry between Pep, or at least with the relationship between Pep and Guardiola, they'd want to kind of have at it, but not so much the case with City. Their next couple of fixtures, it's a bit of a mixed bag. West Ham and Sheffield United away. I could easily see him keeping a clean sheet against the likes of Sheffield United. Maybe not so much against West Ham, especially based on their performance against Spurs. But after that, they have Liverpool and Man City have Liverpool and Spurs. So I'll wait. I'm gonna wait and see what the crack with these clean sheets are in a couple of weeks. Because right now, as we mentioned, in Rogue's previous question, it's like it seems to me that they are drying up. Clean sheets seem clean sheeps. Now there's a podcast, but clean sheets seem to be drying up, and yeah, I'm not going to be splashing out on any expensive defenders right now. Next question. Thank you, Nuclear. Thank you, Rogue. Next question. DD regular at DD1978A. I'm not sure if that was the year he was born, but at least it's a valid guess. 1978, Seamus. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah. Let's
Why
go with
A
that.
though? That's what confuses me. Like, where's the B? Where's the DDB?
He's A plus status.
Fair,
He's A
fair enough. We
status.
get his A plus account. He asks us. He's writing in hope that Dallas and Harrison save his abysmal week. That isn't going to turn out to be the case, my friend. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, DD.
But is it time to get rid of Vardy? And also, is JR now the new KDB? Hit me, Seamus.
Is James the new KDB? No, he's different price bracket. He's not going to get the same returns. I still think even with his 2 goals the last day, he'll still chip in with assists and he'll get the odd goal from distance. He'll probably prove to be quite good value for the price you're paying, whatever 7.5 or whatever he is now. He's not going to be a new KDB. He's not going to be 200 points at the end of the season. I'd put money on that now, but Yeah, maybe he will. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see it happening. Um, what's the other part of the question? Is it time to get rid of Vardy? I'm going to say yes. I mean, I voted with my feet. I got rid of Vardy on wildcard a couple of game weeks ago. Thank you for the points. Get out of my team, especially with a calf injury. He seems to be managing kind of injuries and stuff a bit more lately. Getting older, want to have some niggles. They're going to miss games here and there, and I don't like him coming back off an injury to, hit the ground running. Like he looked the games he got all those goals. He didn't look great. He wasn't doing much. So yeah, there's better options out there for that 10 million. Switch over to Kane if you don't have him for a small bit extra. Even go to Timo Werner, who's now found the back of the net and looked very good in that game. If he's played through the center, I'd expect money. There's so many options. You don't need to persist with somebody whose next games are against Arsenal in form. Well, pretty much informed. They're pretty good this year. Leeds, who are looking tough to beat. Wolves at home, and then Liverpool at home. I'd be going off them. I don't like Leicester more so than I don't like Vardy, and that's the main reason why.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that, but you pretty much smashed everything I was going to say. You even called out the fixtures, which I was like, "You son of a bitch, you took my line." But he
That's fine. We can just move on unless you have anything that you want to say to counteract those points. I basically shat on Vardy there, so even though he did so well for me the first 3 game
Oh,
weeks.
he's like the only reason you're in touching distance of me, Seamus. No, I do want to touch on something, and that's the second part of his question. He asks us to also please discuss your favorite edible snack with some cold ones. Now, I assume he's talking about dead bodies, because what other cold ones are there, Seamus? Favorite?
Yeah, that's my edible snacks to have while with some cold ones. I don't even know where to go with that one. Yeah, I'm a chips kind of guy. Or one thing I'm
Whoa,
very
whoa, whoa,
partial
whoa.
to. It would.
Chips? Clarify that to our non. Like, what the fuck do you mean by chips?
Oh yeah. So I mean like wild card,
Oh,
bench
yes.
boost,
Yeah,
things like
fair
that.
enough.
No, I mean like potato chips is what I actually meant. I
Potatoes.
meant like tortilla
Potatoes.
chips. Yeah, crisps,
Fucking
crisps to
hell.
the layman.
Chips. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. Potato chips. Hey, we're worldwide, man. If I say fries, people are going to think
Yeah, if you
chips.
meant
It's
that
all
fries
backwards.
were your favorite edible snack with cold ones, we could have that discussion. But saying chips?
No, Doritos or Hunky Dories or something like that. They're probably my favorite. Spicier the better. But the other thing, maybe I'm very partial to those yogurt or what are they? Fudge flavored pretzels. You ever have those
Yes,
guys? White
yes,
fudge?
they're really, really fucking
Oh
nice.
yeah.
I do like them. You know me, Seamus. I'm not one to eat or snack when I'm drinking. When I'm drinking, I'm focused on drinking.
Oh.
You know, so I don't want anything soaking that shit up. Eating is cheating, as they say.
Oh.
Um,
I do say regularly when we're drinking, you literally like I'll be there. Hey, I bought snacks over, man. I'll bring them over, and then at the end of it, it's like, man, we really got through those snacks. And you're like, I literally haven't had
never
any of those
touched.
snacks, and I've just eaten a huge bag of Doritos, big bag of chocolate, and yeah, you're just there. You're a pro. You just focus on your strengths, and that's why you're better at getting drunk than me.
Professional alcoholic, yeah, you can. It's in the genes. It's in the genes. But if I was to indulge in a couple of snacks, I'm classic. I'm scampi fries or bacon fries, like anything that's salty that makes me want to drink a bit more. You got it in yesterday. Big pack of Monster Munch. Haven't had that in 15 years, so my fingers smell like an 8-year old. But like, I was happy and I drank the rest of my beer after that. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, I could make some dangerous jokes there, but I won't. Moving on.
Next question, Seamus. Who is it? It's Leon Mack. Give it to me.
We've gone for Leon Mack. Now Leon Mack is gone for a lot of questions here. He's got 4 separate questions. One is double Villa defense viable? We discussed that. Well, I'll ask all 4 questions. Is the double Villa defense viable? Who takes penalties for City when both KDB and Aguero are on? Can Shea Adams match Ings this season? He feels he is unlucky not to have more points from him this season. And the top 3 must have players for anyone who's on wildcard. Where do you want to start with that? I think we'll start with the who takes penalties for City when both Aguero and KDB are on the pitch. We both agree on
Yeah,
this, do we?
it's
KDB's on him.
KDB's on him. Yeah. Aguero was on the pitch a couple of times last year when KDB took a penalty. After Aguero went on a string of missing the fucking things. And yeah, no, I'm confident that KDB is taking him once he's on the pitch. There's 4 questions here. Cheeky one, Leon. Cheeky one. But they're all pretty decent, like straightforward cues. So we should bet through them. No, I'm KDB. You're the same, yeah?
Yeah, I think KDB takes him when Aguero's on the pitch until he misses
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
basically.
which is to be decided. But is double Villa defense viable? I think we talked about this before the pod, and we both agreed. Depending on what you're doing, if you're going with like a Martinez Konza or Martinez target, where you're rotating your defender and you've got your constant Villa keeper, yeah, it's viable.
Yeah, I think so too in that regard. I don't think I want to be playing double Villa defense every week, but if you're playing one of them, if they're cheap, let's pull up their defenders there. I mean, Martinez is the kind of informed goalkeeper here at the moment in the league. 31 points from 4 games is just a great return. Um, let's have a look. So yeah, Mings is also on 30 points. He has got a goal and an assist this season. Konza's doing well too. Yeah, look, I mean, for Konza, if he continues to play, he's 4.6. That could be brilliant. I don't know if you want to just transfer in a load of guys over the next coming weeks, but if you're on wildcard, I'd probably have Martinez and goals with their fixtures, and I'd have another defender there, either Konza or Target, to kind of rotate in and out, like you
Yeah,
said. I wouldn't be averse to
no,
it.
no, no, 100%. I think, yeah, as you said, if you're rotating defenders and you have your constant Villa keeper, from what I've seen so far, they look super tight at the back. Looking at their fixtures coming up, I mean, I'm assuming in my hypothetical situation that you've only got one playing keeper, but looking at Villa's fixtures, Leeds, Southampton, Brighton in the next four, sandwiched with an Arsenal and West Ham on either side of that Brighton match, yeah, I'd be pretty happy with a Villa double up. Third part of his 4-part question: can Adams match Ings this season? He feels he's unlucky not to have more points this season. Yeah, you and me fucking both, buddy. I've had him since the start. You know where I stand on it, Seamus. But can he match Ings? No, I don't think so.
No, I think the price point will show over the course of the season. Like Adams is 5.8 now, but he started at 6 million. Ings started at 6.5.
8.5.
There's, or 8.5, excuse me. So what, there's 2.5 between them. I think Danny Ings proves the points difference between them. I think last season, like, okay, fair enough. Adams didn't play what he played. He only played 1,000 minutes. He only got 78 points. Ings, on the other hand, got 198. So, like, he got over 120 points more. It'll be closer this year because Adams will get more minutes, but and it won't quite be double or anything like that. But you're going to want to pay more for the extra points, I think. But if he gets close to him, if like points per million, it could be close. Maybe you're happy in a game week where Adams gets 6 points, but Ings gets 9. You don't curse like, ah, damn it, Adams got goals again. Maybe just go, or you don't curse Ings. You just say, well, look, I got my 6 points for Adams. He only cost 6 million. Take the points and move on. You've invested that outer money elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I've gotten rid of Adams this week, as I mentioned already. But whether I think he can match Ings, like looking at it from a points per million kind of side of things, like in the sense that yeah, Ings is 2.5 million more expensive. Maybe he matches him in that regard, but Ings has penalties, and I do think that's still a massive advantage, a massive feather in your bow. And for me, I like Ings is on target to have another fucking great season. Do you know? Like, so I've no reason to think that he can't continue what he was doing last year, other than like Southampton as a team drop off. And maybe that's the case. I don't know. They came back and drew that 3-3 match. They drew 3-3 with Chelsea at the weekend. I think that was a great result for them. And I still hold out hope. They've gotten smashed and they've had some bad performances already in the first 5 game weeks, but that wasn't the case this week. And I do have McCarthy. He's had 2 clean sheets in game week 4 and 3 and 4. So maybe Southampton keep it together. Like, I don't know. As I said, I jumped off Matt Adams. I don't want to go up. I don't want to invest 8.5 in a Southampton attacker right now, just because I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting from them. But I do feel he's unlucky to not have scored more. And yeah, maybe like in 6 months, like after Christmas, I'm looking back and going, "What were you thinking, Jer?" Of course he's on fire. You got rid of him the week he scored his 11 point, haul, and that was the
Yeah, the week he
start of it.
started it
Yeah.
all. Yeah, possibly, possibly. They haven't got the kindest run. What have they got coming up? It's okay. It's not like Everton at home. You got to say that's a tough one. Aston Villa, they've won 4 out of 4. That's going to be a tough one. And Newcastle at home is a good fixture. And then the Wolves away, United at home, 2 potentially tough ones. United, you don't know what you're going to get, but they could be a bit better. But come game week 10, Wolves are always going to be tough games. So it doesn't look like possibly a whole lot of goals in many of those games. So I don't see Danny Ings or Shea Adams going. That's why I'm thinking Danny Ings might be out of my team. He just doesn't. I only got him in a couple of weeks ago, but just like Kane's fixtures are. I don't want to keep him back to Kane, but I will say this about Southampton: they had a higher XG than Chelsea this week for all Chelsea. Playing so well and scoring so many goals. Southampton, they didn't close the back door very well at all. So
yeah, well, I think that's going to be the story of Chelsea's season, if you ask me. I think Chelsea will score a lot of goals this year. You see the fucking strike force they have. We've yet to see the strike force they have in terms of what I imagine the starting 11 is. Like Ziyech come on and get a couple of minutes this week. He's still like yet to start alongside Pulisic, and I assume Werner up front with Havertz in the middle. I don't know. We're gonna wait, but I don't have much faith in Chelsea's defense. That's the honest to God truth. Maybe that changes, but in regards to right now, I'm holding off. The last part of Leon's question: top 3 must-have players for anyone on wildcard. Seamus, first answer. Go for it, off the top of the head.
First player, Kane.
Kane. That makes absolute sense. Second player, go for it.
How about you? Son.
Oh my god, that was going to be my second player, but yeah. Third player, boom.
Calvert-Lewin.
I would have went DCL ahead of Son, but just if we were going to do it rotating, but I couldn't depend on you. I didn't know what you were going to do to me. I was like, no.
No, I would probably include Salah in there as well, but the only reason he's not first 3 names is because you could make a viable argument for Mane, possibly. Maybe you want both, I don't know, but Salah. I don't want to get into this. We've had this discussion in the past. Salah, yes, with the penalties ahead of Mane in that regard, but those 3 would be my first 3. Salah would be a close 4th.
I would disagree with you. You've reminded me that Salah is alive, and I think he's for me. Must have. He's the top. I know he hasn't, been really making the headlines as much as Kane and Son, but scored again this week with like the fucking craziest of chance. Just bang, smacked it in goal. He's looked crazy fucking sharp since the start of the season, and I think he's the must-have. But I think I took that for granted. He's the must-have player. You changed your mind. You went him. Now I know what you're saying. Mane is a viable alternative. Yeah, he is. He's completely a viable alternative, and he will be for the rest of the season, barring injury and whatnot. But I don't know. I think, harken back to the 2017-2018 season when Salah did what we all have come to know him for. I want to see that again, and he looks kind of, to me, it looks like he's hitting that level of form. So he's my first DCL, and as you said, Kane/Son. I think Son's price point. Versus Kane's. It's only $1.5 million, but 9.1 for Son, which I'm sure by the time this episode gets out will be a little redundant. He could be 9.2, but that's crazy cheap for a player delivering what he's been delivering so far. So yeah, I think we're kind of similar. Liverpool, DCL, fucking Spurs.
Yeah, if you're on wildcard this week, then you've got your captain probably sorted for the next 2 weeks with Salah, with Sheffield United at home and West Ham away. But next 3 weeks is 3 great fixtures for Spurs. So Burnley away, Brighton at home, West Brom away. Yeah, your captains are coming from one of those 3 players in the next couple of weeks. But DCL's form can't be ignored. He's somebody for his price you'd have to have in. 50% of the game have him as well. So everything he does is just putting a nail in your coffin, and I think he will keep it up because everything looks good. So I think that answers that question, Leon. I think there's not too much of a. We both kind of have a bit of consensus on that as well. Who have we got next?
Next, Jameis, we have a fellow Limerick man, FPL Strategist, at FPL Strategist. He asks us, what are your thoughts on Liverpool defenders now that VVD is out long term? I can't believe we've done over an hour already, over a fucking hour, and we haven't discussed the Van Dijk injury. But what are your thoughts on Liverpool defenders now, Seamus?
Yeah, we won't get into the injury because it was a bad injury. Yeah, probably should have been red. If you disagree, we don't want to start arguing over this. We're not answer the actual question at hand. Point is, he's injured now and he's going to be out for 6 or 7 months or maybe longer. They're not great without Van Dijk. Really shored up that defense and brought him on to the next level. Without him, they've already looked porous this season. With him, without him, Joe Gomez doesn't look very good this season so far, so it's going to be probably him and Matip. They've sold Lovren as well. Ugh, I'm not confident in them at all. They will continue to. The fullbacks will get attacking returns. So if you had Robertson, he's in better form. But I'm not very confident in Alexander Arnold now. Clean sheets being gone is a whole lot less points there. He hasn't looked great attacking wise compared to Robertson. So I'm kind of on the side that until it looks like clean sheets are coming back, until there's like positive fixture swing, I'm not sure if I want too many of them. I'm going to keep Alexander Arnold. Like I mentioned, two good fixtures coming up, but I would be considering getting off.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, Seamus. I mean, we have another question there from FPL Uncorked at FPL Uncorked. The star of our first FPL Hangover High Stool, and he asks us, a similar question: how many Liverpool defenders would you recommend in light of the current Premier League trends and in light of Van Dijk's injury? And yeah, I'm with you in terms of like I have Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm looking at maybe wildcarding this week, maybe next week. If I do wildcard this week, I don't know if I'll have Alexander Arnold. I'd have Robertson ahead of him just because I can shave that half a mil, maybe point 0.4 or whatever it is now, off of my, my transfer budget. So that gives me kind of a position. It gives me something to play around with. I think Robertson's looked crazy attacking. I am extremely concerned about Van Dijk being missing. We talked about this before the show, and if you look at like Liverpool's stats over the last couple of matches, or since Van Dijk's been there, they have a 75% win ratio with Van Dijk in the team versus a 46% win ratio with Van Dijk not in the team. So like I'm worried. I know Allison is out too. I think that's supposed to be short term, so he's supposed to be coming back pretty soon. But even with Allison there, I think Van Dijk is a massive loss. I think Joe Gomez looks he looks literally. No, it's not literally, but he looks half the player he was before. But well, it's technically literally because nowadays literally means just emphasis as well as it does fucking literal. But yeah,
It literally doesn't mean
it
literal
literally
anymore.
doesn't mean literal anymore. That's great. But yeah, he looks half the player. He's been fucking shit since the start of the season, and you got to wonder who their centre backs are going to be. Are they going to just push Fabinho back there because he looked like he can do a job?
Yeah, he does, but alongside someone like Van Dijk, Van Dijk is the organizer. He's the guy who controls the line. Remember, they play a really high line. If they haven't got somebody organizing that, which they didn't organize to great effect in the Aston Villa game, if they don't organize that, they could be leaving tons of goals in because, if that's not in line, then somebody's in. It's true on goal. They haven't got Allison rushing off the line. They've got Adrian in goals at the moment, and it's going to be another few weeks before he comes back. So, yeah, if I was wildcarding this week, I think I might just get rid and then look to come back. I mean, they're not going to go up in price because they're not playing very well. But then the question is, are you going to be missing out Alexander Arnold, on goals, assists? He nearly had a goal against Everton.
Yeah,
Pickford make a great save. So
it was a good save. I think it's also worth noting that from where I'm sitting, technically, Liverpool are on a bit of a downward trend. They have won 11 of the last 21 matches. Not great in terms of stats. Now, I know that a lot of those matches were the end of last season where they'd already wrapped up the league and there was a couple of cup matches thrown in there. But it has to be a little bit concerning. So while I don't fear their attacking threat, I think their defense is definitely something to monitor, and I wouldn't be afraid of not having a Liverpool defender right now, whereas at the start of the season I would have been petrified. But the second part of Keane's question is there any premium defenders from other clubs worth owning?
yeah, while I want to be helpful here and kind of go and list some guys who could be worth it, I don't want to sit in the fence and just kind of go, these guys could, and these guys won't. I'm just going to say no, I don't think there is. I'm almost advocating for just take your money out of defense and just chuck in cheap ones there. There's some options around 4.5 to 5.5 value that could do well based on the fixtures. The only premium I'd really want would be Robertson. Even as we said earlier, Dean is just probably priced that bit too much. Dean has incidentally scored more points in the FPLs this season than Robertson. But yeah, Robertson and Dean are the only defenders worth more than 6 million in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm going to say top 15. Let's go down a
For
bit
fuck's
further.
sake.
Jesus Christ. Top 20,
Why? Why
top
do I have to listen to
25,
this?
top 25, top 25 defenders. Only two players over 6 million. No premium defenders are proving their value at the moment. So I can't advocate for anyone. And I won't advocate for anyone. I'd say take your money out of defense unless you're confident that the goals are coming for Alexander Arnold and Robertson, or which I don't think
Fair
they are.
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think he's given you a pretty good rundown there, Keane. You got all of the numbers. Last question. Well, it's not the last question, but it's the last question I have a picture for. And that's from, as I already mentioned at the top of the show, at Renegades FPL, the Beast from the East. How are you finding all of the carnage this season as podcasters, or do you just do your own thing regardless? Do you find it harder to give advice when it's so volatile? Is there more pressure to nail it because people are struggling? And does Jur even care? I can answer that last bit. No, I don't care.
Yeah, I could have answered that last bit. You
No.
don't care. I care more, so it hurts me more when I'm not playing well or having a bad season, definitely. And when that happens, Twitter is the last place I want to be. So yeah, it is. It does make it harder doing this podcast because I find the best remedy to a poor game week or poor start or several game weeks or just when decisions aren't going your way is to take a step back. Look a match of the day, look at the stats, but not obsess over FPL. Which is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to play my wildcard early as well. Because now I'm like, okay, I don't have to look every week. Is this the week to play my wildcard? Is this the week to play my wildcard? Now my team is set. One transfer per week, two if I want to take a hit. Um, yeah, that's how I find it. You genuinely don't. I don't think find it as I don't know, stressful.
No. I have
Do
a
you?
thing called perspective, Seamus, where I can put this
Mm.
little game, to the back of my mind. I'm joking, of course. Like I'm the kind of person. I said it before. I get extremely, in the moment. I can be furious and I can be, delirious, deliriously happy. But then I'll just, it goes away because it doesn't fucking mean anything. It's a goddamn game. So as a podcast, do I find it harder to give advice when it's so volatile? Like a little bit. I mean, it means I end up vamping and talking shit a lot more. But I suppose you'd have to go back and listen to other episodes to see any difference in comparisons to the volatility of the season. But like I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of there's just so much more information out there to just talk shit. So I mean, if you want to be planned and have themes and topics you want to talk through, yeah, it's probably a bit tougher when it's volatile. But if you're just looking at it from a kind of week to week basis, like myself, nah, it doesn't really bother. Pressure wise, I no, there's no fucking pressure, man. It's a god for fuck's sake. Like it's what 50%
Yeah,
luck, 50 whatever variance luck, probability, whatever word you want to put on the fucking thing. It's like poker. You can't beat yourself up when you play ace king and ace queen cracks it. Do you know?
no, I find there's no pressure to nail it because people are struggling. I mean, we're giving our advice at what works for us, what we think, how we see the game, which players we think are good options and which players we don't. Yeah, and there's times like last year, second half of the season, before they went on an amazing run, I thought, Martial probably wasn't going to be a good option. He went on an amazing run. So you get things like that wrong from time to time, but dynamics in teams can change. And I think 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, I'm wrong about this, and I would be going on him if I could. So there's no pressure to nail it because people are doing well. I mean, first and foremost, I'm more interested in my own team than I'm interested in all your all teams.
Oh yeah.
If you're all kind of, but we all we want to make your teams better, and we'll tell our honest opinions on these things. But yeah, no, I mean, there's more pressure on myself to do well than there is on giving out quality advice. I mean, at the end of the day, it's fun. I do find it harder to pod when it's carnage like this and I'm not doing well because I just find it harder to get myself geared up to talk about it. But if you're listening to this, you'll know I'm more than able to talk shite about this once I get going. So it's just more about getting into the studio and getting in the right frame of mind and getting excited for it more than to give advice. We'll still tell us exactly what we see, how we see it, and who we think are good and who we think are
Yeah,
overperforming.
and we'll probably be wrong about most of the things. That's the reality of it. I listen
Mhm.
to far too many FPL podcasts per week that are healthy for any frame of any cognizant frame of fucking, train of thought. And I don't know any fucking podcast out there that knows what the fuck they're talking about. Like they all are susceptible to, errors in judgment, mistakes, and these are players like yourself, Drew, who I'm sure is a lot fucking happier now because he smashed it this week with 100 plus wildcard returns, absolutely nailing it. He's going to be buzzing. Looking forward to this week's Renegades podcast. So check that out if you're not already doing it. But like, last week you were whinging. So, you know what I mean? What sense does any podcast make of it? Look at FPL Chieftain, last year's podcast. He takes a break from podcasting this year and he's fucking nailing it as well. So, I mean, like, what do you take from any of this information? Do you know? Seamus?
Yeah, I think if you're not doing a pod, you probably... And they're both in different situations.
That's what I was
like,
going to say.
If you're not doing a pod, for example, you might find it a lot easier to go with your gut and not have to justify decisions and things like that. And maybe that's working for him. But certainly hasn't affected Drew last year. I don't think he had a great start to the season, and it kind of improved as it went on, but would have been a poor season by his standards. This year, he's off to good start now with this game week at least, and we both said it. He's, I think, when we get to our FPL Hangover mini league, he's entered the top 5 or 10, and we're like, he's the sort of manager with a good pedigree that once he gets into a good position, he'll just go from strength to strength. So he's not chasing. He's going to consolidate leads and hold people off. So that'll be interesting to see how it works for him. And it's harder to pod because you don't want to get in here, but it's not harder to give advice. I mean, I don't even look at what we're talking about is giving advice. No. I look at this the same way. When we started this pod, I said, this is you and me talking about what did we see in FPL this week, and if that helps improve our mini league rivals and make things a bit more competitive in our mini leagues and things like that, and help other people there too, we're all for that.
No, exactly. This is the equivalent of just it was always meant to be just a chat like we would have had anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? A few cans. What the fuck's going on in FPL? But he'll be buzzing this week. Seamus, I think that's nearly the end of the questions. You have a few there that DM'd
I have a couple of quick ones.
Quick 'em.
Yeah, a couple of quick ones. I know we're running low on time here, but I don't want to be accused again of ignoring questions like we have in the past. Tom Moriarty asks, is the Son and Kane show sustainable?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, in a word, yes. Burnley away. Burnley away, they've been good away from home. It's actually been at home this season where they've been poor. They've dropped points at home. They've lost to Everton. They've drawn with Newcastle, and they've drawn with West Ham at home. Away from home, they've scored 5 goals and 6 goals. So, Burnley have been poor this year. They could be hit for a few goals again, but they just kept a clean sheet, so maybe they won't.
They kept a clean sheet against West Brom, so let's not go fucking mad,
Yeah, you're right. And I think Burnley have at times frustrated Spurs in seasons past, but at times I think Spurs have smashed them as well. So I think Burnley away, Brighton at home, West Brom away. Yeah, you definitely want probably both of those there as well. Yeah, so I mean, even though, I think I'm going to have to get Kane in for these. With De Bruyne out, he's a nice little differential, it's not a differential because I'm sure he's going to go up and up and up. So I'm going to say yes to that
at least for the next 3: Burnley, Brighton, West Brom, and then before City and Chelsea. So I'm with you there, Seamus. Next, Brett.
Yeah. Then we also have a question from FPL Crypto, which is Cahill. Irish guy living in Canada. He's also got his YouTube channel there as well, where he talks about FPL. And does he still go on talk about cryptocurrency? I'm sure
it's a lot more FPL from what I'm aware.
It's a lot more FPL. True that. He's asked, take the Werner points and run, or should we hold in lieu of Kane and Aguero options now that we see him back in the centre leading the line for Chelsea? He also asked about best budget defender between 4 and 5 million. We kind of touched on that, but we can give our number 1 picks in there with that as well in a minute. But Werner, start with.
I think
keep, hold.
Like they've United this week. That's not as tough as it sounds on paper. I think there could be quite a few goals from both teams in that. I feel like they'll both go for it. I mean, I can't see United trying to keep Chelsea out, and I can't see Chelsea actually keeping United out. So, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be worried if I had Werner. I've already jumped off him, as a lot of managers have. But the United match is followed up by Burnley, Sheffield, and Newcastle. So yeah, it's a bit of a hole, but I mean, if the option is Kane or Werner, I'm going Kane. It's as simple as that, especially for the next three. Yeah, I'd take the points and run with Werner. I don't know. I would also be worried about, is he going to nail that centre spot, or is Lampard going to give some minutes to Abraham, and Giroud is still sitting on the bench as well. But that kind of stuff worries me a little bit, especially because Werner is that little bit versatile. So he could be playing on the left. He could find himself, playing kind of behind the striker, as we've seen already. I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced. I'm gonna take the points and run guy. Seamus, what about you?
Yeah, I don't trust Lampard one bit with that
Yeah.
team. Their fixtures, yeah, as you said, that United fixture isn't as tough as it is on paper. They've got Champions League as well to contend with. They've got Sevilla this week. They've got Krasnodar on the 28th. So they've got games coming up either side of the Chelsea game, and you're going to think he's going to want to play in those games. So he could see his minutes managed in those games. Harry Kane, yes, they're in Europa League, so maybe he's going to be playing some games as well. But there's always a chance, now they've got that new striker Vinicius, that he will get rested a small bit more for the league campaign, possibly until the latter stages of Europa League. Like you said, to me, it's a straight choice between. There's no way I would go for Werner over Kane, but it depends. Are you wildcarding, Call? Are you just keeping with your team? I can't recall if you've wildcarded or not already. If you have other fires to put out in your team, maybe you want to keep Werner. I don't know. I just see Kane getting a lot more points. I think it's the obvious move for a reason, and yeah, Werner will chip away. I'm sure he will, but I just think Kane's going to get more. So go for Kane. Aguero. What do you think of Aguero as an
It's a wait
option?
and see. I mean, we know what Aguero's capable of. I think that, like as you said, a little bit depends on what you're doing. I feel like the question was more kind of, do I take the points and run and say thank you, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm done. I wanted to go to Kane in the first place, and now I'm doing it. Should my head be turned by Werner's haul? And if that's the case, nope, I don't think so. I think you knew this was a possibility. The fact that he delivered against Southampton isn't a massive shock. So yeah, but it doesn't change my mind. I do kind of worry about Chelsea a little bit. There's some Chelsea assets I think I'd be almost more interested in, but that's a question for another episode, because we are running pretty long here, James. Have you got anything more before we start wrapping this up?
No, just is there one defender under five between the 4 and 5 million range that you think is the best budget defender?
Um, no, I mean, like, the best budget defender. I mean, I've been wrong about the ones I have, like, in terms of, like, I don't, or the ones I don't have. Like, I don't have Villa. They've been smashing it. I don't think you should be. We've discussed everything. I don't think you should be looking at them. I think Villa looking really, really fucking tight. To be honest with you, like, I don't know. I mean, they'd be the ones I think, if from the ones I don't have, i.e. the Justins and the Walker Peters and all that stuff, I have them. I'd almost take a Villa defender over any of them right now. Whether I'd make that transfer, where I'd use the transfer on that, is a different story. Do you get me?
Yeah, yeah, you're breaking up there a bit. I don't know. Hopefully, my internet connection is good here. Um, I'm wondering if I go for Konza for Aston Villa for James with their nice fixtures coming up, am I just walking into a bear trap? Is that just a trap waiting to happen where I'm just going to go, why did I make the transfer in getting an Aston Villa defender and then just use another transfer in a few weeks to get rid of him? What do you think?
I last week I would have been a bit more concerned about it. I would have felt a bit more unsure. I think keeping that clean sheet against Leicester has really, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit to how tight they are at the back, Villa wise, or Villa. So I don't know. I hope whatever decision you make is the wrong one, Seamus. So keep me informed.
Yeah, I I'm thinking now could be the time to go in on those Ailing and Dallas transfers for 4.5. I think that's kind of where I'm leaning myself, Cahill. I think they'll start looking good. Yeah, I'm gonna say those guys. I'm gonna say Dallas. No, I'm gonna say Ailing because every time I've seen Ailing, he's just
He does.
looks
He
very
looks
attacking.
crazy attacking. And make sure to check out FPL Crypto's YouTube channel. It's top class fucking video shit there. Last but not least, folks, we have the FPL Hangover Podcast Mini League. There is the top 10 in front of you for those with ears and not eyes. Still in number one position is Damien McCallion from Dunfahy 11. He's got 348 points. Now, these scores are prior to the Wolves match, I believe. But I don't think much has changed in the middle. He's still top. Devendra Ray is in second place with We Live on Earth 616. In third place, another Limerick man, Ian Walsh, Fushun Chups 327. Fourth place, we've mentioned him already. He's having a smashing season. Damien, FPL Chieftain, 318 points. Fifth, again, another fucking person we've already mentioned. Drew Renegades, 316 as well. Austin, 316. James Stevens, Tiger James, S11, 313. 6 is Liam Herridge, Lane Lyons, Paul Galloway, Gallovidian. He was there last year. He tried to sneak 2 teams in, but we booted one out. He's got to 1 in this season, 311. 8th place, Ben Rim, Sitting Ducks FC, 311. And 10th, Tony Clark, Clarkeys County, 309. There will be a cup coming your way this season, sir. That's right. We've picked up our first official FPL Hangover merchandise. Seamus, you've got the cup there to hand. We've still got to hand this out to the last season's winner, Alan Finucane. He's still there. He's having an okay season. Seamus, get that closer to the camera. Get it closer. Closer.
Okay.
Oh, it's disappeared. It's
no, I have to be in a certain
fucking
rate.
green
This
screens.
stupid background image thing
It's
is
there. Anyone
yeah.
listening,
The
you
green
can see
screen is
it.
there,
For
yeah.
those who aren't, let me describe to you. It is a fantastic and subtle porcelain mug with a nice black overtones, and you know what you get. It's a fucking cup. You can drink tea out of it, and that's there. We will be telling you more about it, folks, next week. Look, we're running long. Seamus, you've got all the nasty details where people can find us.
Yeah, find us on YouTube, okay, at the FPL Hangover podcast. You'll find us on there. That's where you'll see us in the flesh, live on screen, warts and all. You'll also find us on Twitter. I'm at FPL Drunk, and you'll find the podcast at FPL Hangover. You can hit us up for DMs there if you have any questions. We'll throw out posts every week, like and share, all that shit. We're also on all the major podcast platforms, including iTunes this year, which we weren't on last year. So if you can like, share, rate on the iTunes store, things like that, and on Spotify as well. Anything else I'm leaving out? You can email us on gmail.com if you'd like.
No one does. That's perfect, Seamus. You can also join the mini league on the code EH4HH7. That'll be closing shortly. And yeah, thank you for listening, folks. Enjoy game week 6. We'll see you next week. God bless.